Cool. All right. Let me start with a bit of an introduction about Huấn. So Huấn has a structural engineering background, and he currently works as a structural engineer, which he's been doing for the last 12 years now. He was previously in Australia and has been living in New Zealand now for a little bit. He got into real estate primarily because he saw it as a natural pathway for personal growth. And it also helped him go towards or lead him towards financial independence. He has done a lot of house flips locally where he lives and has also invested actively, passively in both syndications and JV deals in the Missouri, Indiana, and the Arkansas area. Huấn is a master underwriter at MIH, and I'm so glad he's presenting today. And thank you, Huấn, for sharing all your knowledge with us. So take it from here.
Thanks, Shirah. Hey, thanks for appreciate the invitation to present a little underwriting deal that I've gone through recently. Yeah, so I do kind of enjoy the underwriting aspect of it, and it's just naturally being an engineer, I'm naturally drawn to the numbers, and I find that it's just it's a way for me to get in. It's an easier way for me to get in, and then I can build up the other aspects of the multifamily skills that everybody needs to have. So this deal that I wanted to go through with you guys is, can I share my screen?
Yes, yeah, I made you co-host.
Be able to, right? So this one is kind of a unique deal. So when Shirah mentioned that asked me to go through and underwrite a deal, I figured this would be a good one simply because it's kind of unique in the sense that it's a portfolio of two very different properties in the same portfolio. So you can see here in the pictures, one is a high-rise, a tower building that's 16 stories, 107 units, and the other one, and this tower was built in the 1960s, 1968 here. And the other one is was a luxury townhome complex, 17 units. This is called the Villas of Lakewood. So this came to us through a broker that we've worked with, a brokerage that we've worked with, and we bought stuff from these guys before Newmark. We bought stuff through them before, so we had a good relationship with them. So we figured we'd take a really good look at this. We really liked the villas, not necessarily the tower, because simply because it's being a tower building, there's a lot of problems that you really have to think about before you get into something like this. But because it came to us as a portfolio, underwrote both, and in that process, I feel like we had to educate ourselves a little bit on what's involved when we want to take down something like this building here, a 1968 built high-rise building. But the one that I really wanted to talk to you guys was actually the underwriting of this 17-unit complex here, because we really like this property. They're both in a really good location, and we like this one a lot. And we figured that if we could get this, it would have been a great deal to hold on, for a long time. So I'll touch briefly on the tower, and then I'll go into the villas and show you the spreadsheet that the different versions of the spreadsheet I had to play with the villas. So they're both in a fantastic location in North Little Rock. This is a really sought after location. There's a lot of demand here, both for just a normal type 2-bed, 3-bed units, and also for luxury townhomes like the villas here. Both of these properties have really good occupancy, and generally they're just good properties in general. The problem that we found with the tower when we got into it was there was two main problems with the tower. And let me scroll down here, see and find some photos for you guys. Oh yeah, this one here. So one big problem that we found with this tower was the HVAC system. And we actually did quite a bit of research on the system that they use on this tower here. And we found that we actually spoke to the company who serviced the HVAC system. And we found out that they had 2 boilers and a chiller and a cooling tower in this building. And apparently they were first constructed back in the early 2000s. So we found out that we had about 5 to 6 years to the end of their intended life. Doesn't mean they can't go longer than that, but it's very possible that within 5 or 6 years, we might have to replace these boilers and chillers and cooling towers. And the price tag that we got for that task was $1.4 million. So obviously that made a huge difference to the numbers. And also we found out that one thing with this tower here was the ground floor had a lot of commercial leases down here. So there was commercial tenants down here. There was 6 commercial tenants, I believe. I think there was a cell phone tower at the top as well. And there was a lawyer down here, a barbershop. But the biggest commercial tenant was the property management company for this building and also for the villas as well. So the property management company, their rent was about $100,000 a year for the lease that they have. And when we got the leases, as part of the information that they gave us, the lease was supposed to go for another at least 2 or 3 years, I believe. But then we later found out, and this information wasn't available to us until we started digging in. But we found out that they were going to alter the lease and get out of the building as soon as the building is sold. So that was actually a big deal. So these issues, with every discovery that we found, we actually the price for the tower went down a little bit. And we actually came to a price of, I believe, about $70,000 a unit for this tower. And that was significantly below what they wanted. There was some upside on this building, but the price they wanted was, I believe, was $93,000 a door, around that mark. And we just couldn't get it to work for that price. And so we kind of let it go a little bit. But then we found out that there was another group who were also pursuing this deal. And interestingly, they were more interested in the tower and not the villas. It's kind of the other way. That we were interested more in the villas, and they were interested more in the tower. So we found out that they got to a price that was closer to what the owner wanted. So we figure we'll check back with them in a few months and find out whether the villas were still available after they've sold the tower. And this was I think it was back in June 2022, so maybe a year ago. And then we checked back with them later on in 2022. It was December 2022. We found out that they were going to close on the tower. So we reached back to them and we said, hey, so are the villas available now? And they said that yes, the villas are still available. And they said the price tag for the villas were that was $4.5 million for 17 units. So I think that was about $280,000 a unit, which actually worked. The numbers actually worked at 4.5 million. And we got really excited. I am going to show you the spreadsheets real quick now for the villas. You guys seeing my spreadsheet, or are you still seeing the PDF?
We're still seeing the PDF.
Okay, I have to stop share and share again, I believe.
Okay.
So this is the villas. Let me stop. Let me share my screen so that way I can jump back and forth between the two. So our strike price for this was 4.675 million. for 17 units. So it was $275,000 a door. And that was really high, but this property is very unique. It's in an area where there's a lot of demand for luxury townhomes, but there's not a lot of competition. So it's at 100% occupancy, and the rent that they were getting was $2,800 a month for the townhomes. I had a lot of reservation about this high level of rent, but we actually reached out to two independent property managers. One was somebody that we worked with for a long time, and another one was another connection from Adar. And they both confirmed that that level of rent was very achievable, given the condition and the size of these townhomes. So let me go down. Oh, these are the ones here. So they're just beautiful 2,200 square foot townhomes with garages and everything. And they also have a lot of amenities as well. One thing that I had to check with the property manager was, because these villas and the tower, they shared a lot of amenities that were part of the tower. So there was a gym and there was a pool. And we knew that once the tower got sold, those amenities would go away. So we had to mention that to the property manager, but they were kind of still confident that we could still get those rent. So let me go back to the spreadsheet here. So we found out that if we got this at 4.675 million, then that would work. And let me just quickly go through the numbers that we have here. So just for completeness, expenses were very high. The projected expenses were high, almost more than $9,000 a door a year. But because the rent was so high that it could sustain that level of expense while still coming out good cash flow. And the financing that we had for this, which is an agency loan, and we were going to get in a 3-year term agency loan with Fannie Mae. I believe it was Fannie Mae, and then get out at the end of the 3 years and refinance at that point and pull money out. So it was 4.6 million, but then we found out. So the guy got back to us and they said that, sorry, that was actually a mistake. They didn't want it. They didn't want 4.5 million. Their debt was actually 4.5. Sorry. So 4.5 wasn't the price they wanted. It was actually the debt. So we came back to them and said, hey, it's actually, well, in that case, how much do you guys want? And they said that it had to be in the 5 millions for it to work. And we couldn't get it to work at that price. So we had to play with the numbers. And the first thing that we looked into was the potential for having a seller financing component with this. So I'm going to share with you guys another version of this where we kind of model what would happen if we were to go down the seller financing path. So we were thinking, if we can get them to carry, it's seller financing. Wait, that's not the one. Okay, I think this is the one here. So in order to get seller financing, we had to work with a lender that would accept that. And we figure if we could get the seller to carry $400,000, then we could pump the price up a little bit to 4.75. So that's what we did here. Let me show it to you guys. Yeah, so we got back to them and we were going to offer that seller financing component, but then we realized that we couldn't get the price back up to that level they wanted anyway. So the last thing that we wanted to do, well, we wanted to investigate another strategy to get the price up further, and that was to look into loan assumption. So let me share the other one with you guys. So the only difference between the underwriting that I showed you guys before and this one is the loan assumption component. And what we did there was we found out that their debt was at 4.5% interest. So we figure if we could just assume their loan at 4.5 million, we could pay about 5 million here. I think 5.2 was the price that could have worked if we were to assume the loan. But then we got back to them and they said that was still not high enough. So at the end of that whole exercise, we felt like we've done everything that we could to get the price up to as high as we could. And eventually we still couldn't. I mean, even with the loan assumption and all these aggressive assumptions that we had, we still couldn't get to the price they wanted.
Can I ask a question on this particular, when you modeled the seller financing, how much were you going to have to come in to make them whole? You assume the loan, but you still have to pay them equity.
Yes.
Right. So where is that reflected in that?
So this year, I think we were looking at 400,000 on top of that would be the amount they'll carry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The seller carry.
But we couldn't get what I found was the loan, the seller financing actually didn't help the price in any significant amount. It was more the loan assumption scenario that would have allowed us to get the price up higher. But still, we couldn't get to the price they wanted. So at the end of that whole exercise, we felt like we've done everything that we could, but we couldn't get to the price they wanted. Last time we spoke to them, they still haven't sold this complex yet. So we're going to keep checking in with them on these things.
Keep at it.
Yeah, I think that's just the name of the game now.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. But I guess the reason that I wanted to show you guys, even though this is a deal that we didn't get, and we put a lot of work into this, I felt like this is a good one to talk about because it's kind of unique in the sense that there's two different properties, and the other one we couldn't get. What the other one had a lot of problems. This one we couldn't get to the price they wanted, but we did try. We tried different scenarios here and try to see how we could get it to work.
Hey, one quick question. So how did you model the value adds on these properties? You had just the below market rent, or you had to, because it's 17 units, it's not a big portfolio. But how did you model the value adds here?
The value add on this one?
Yeah.
So
I think it was a new one, right?
The new one, yeah, the new one.
Yeah.
There's actually not a lot of value add on this one.
Yeah.
There's no real rent increase potential on this one. It was more making sure that we could still get the same rent even without the amenities that the towers was offering, if that makes sense. So we had a gym and the pool from the tower, and we wanted to make sure, we talked to the property manager to make sure that we could still get that same rent without access to those amenities. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another question. So when you go for seller financing, I think the Freddie Mac doesn't work, right? That's why you had to change.
Yeah. So we actually had to work.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually had to work with change the financing assumptions to go with a local bank. And wow, one thing that I learned from this was we asked our lender this question as well on how they would value a property like the tower with that commercial component to it. And they said that the mortgage broker that we worked with, he said that the local banks that he worked with, they would treat that income just like normal multifamily income and apply a cap rate to it. But if you go to Fannie Mae, then they will do their own underwriting and apply a much higher vacancy rate on the commercial income. So that was good to know. And we also found out that tower, because of the way that these high-rise buildings are set up, you have very high payroll. So I think the payroll on that property was over $3,000 on average, $3,000 a unit a year. They had to have like 3 security guards and like multiple technicians. Yeah. So it's definitely a good learning exercise, just trying to figure out that tower.
Hoon, I see that you have an equity multiple of about 2.25 in 7 years. Could you maybe talk about where most of that comes from? Is it just from the the natural rent rises that's going to happen over the next 7 years, or is there some other component to it?
So this one is kind of different than a lot of the properties that we look at, in the sense that there's not a huge amount of rent increase. So in other words, you don't get a lot of the value add and value increase from increasing the rent. A lot of this is, in that scenario here, is being able to get it at a good enough price at a low interest rate. So in this case here, you assume the loan and your down payment, excuse me, 13% because you're assuming that loan. And you just use that cash flow. And at the end of by year 3, we're hoping that we could refinance that. Won't be at 80% LTV, but it would be could be at 75% LTV. So you build up that equity. So you go from essentially 13% here down to just over 25%. Build quite a good chunk of equity on a property that's very valuable. So a lot of this income that you get here, that equity multiple here, a good chunk of that comes from the cash flow, and a good chunk comes from the sale at the end as well. Not from the refi, because like I said, in the refi, because initially you come in at 13% and you refi at 75%. So you don't get a lot out of the refi. 20%, there you go. But you get a lot from the cash flow and the resumed sale in this scenario here.
That's an interesting point you're making right there. I think a lot of people, when they're underwriting, don't realize that the value comes in, especially how you pitch a property, right? You said that a lot of the equity multiple comes out of the cash flow. Some people might be thinking, oh, I'm going to get a huge refi, right?
Yeah.
Like at year 2 or 3, when they should be thinking that this is a cash flow play, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That how you as a passive investor have to look at this, and you have to educate your investor to know what to expect out of this deal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the reason that we didn't, this scenario, you would not get a lot of money from the refi. The reason is because you're assuming the loan. So if I go back to the original scenario where there's no loan assumption, you buy this one outright, then you see that the equity multiple is similar here. But you're getting a good chunk here from the refi. 73%.
Which one is that, Juan? Which one?
This is the one with this is the original one where we would buy this one 4.75 million.
Okay, straight buy.
Agency loan. Straight, okay. Buy the whole thing without a loan assumption. So like you said, Carlos, so in this case you kind of get the same, ultimately you get the same return at the end, but you get a bigger chunk of your capital back from the refi event, as opposed to
the cash flow.
As opposed to the cash flow, because now you're paying a higher interest rate here, as opposed to assuming a low interest rate.
Guys, that right there was worth the Zoom meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Just that realization of how to look at a deal.
Right.
Yeah, just to confirm that. So when we say equity multiple, let's say if somebody is investing 100K, yeah, still not 6 o'clock yet. So this is cash flow plus whatever the appreciation happens at the end, right? The refi or sell, right?
Yeah.
Like the equity multiple is okay.
Yeah.
So exactly it's not right. So what I understood is like if somebody let's say investor X invested $100,000, then equity multiplied 2.14 is not the double of
not
that.
200,000. Yeah, 214,000.
Not okay. It's just like cumulative profit from the both right. So cash flow and then after the sale or whatever we find.
I think I wanted to understand that. I was always thinking that if you invest 100,000, you would get 214,000 at the end of the year, whatever you put, right? At the end of the sale or refi. Is that not the case in this case?
the equity multiple is the total amount that you get. That's from the everything, from the cash flow. And
okay.
Yeah, so let me go. If it was in synthesis, you would go into the returns tab here. Where is it? Investor sample. So if you invest 50,000, you get, this is all the cash flow that you get for the period of the deal here, 18,000, and then you get another amount here from the refi and the sale.
Yeah.
So that's the total amount. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess this deal here, we put in a lot of time into it for something that we didn't get, but I felt like at the end of that whole thing, we feel like we've done all we could to try to get it, because we really like the property. We liked it a lot. We drove by it, and it's in a good location, but it's just not. It's couldn't get the price that we wanted. Yeah.
Can you go back to the previous slide that you showed, like cash flow and then total payout at the end? Yeah, it's on the left side.
On the left, yeah.
So can you go to show the last one on the this 13,000 and then 38,000, right? That's what you were talking about. You could multiply that kind of
column Q.
Yeah, 18 and okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of 2.4.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end of the whole hold period, you're getting 18,000, 19,000 here from the cash flow, and you get this additional 38,000 from the sale. Obviously, and you get your money back as well, right? The initial capital back.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why that comes in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned these are townhomes. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, and looking at the pictures, basically it seems like they share a common wall, like multiple townhomes sharing a wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would have firewall here between the units here and the garage you go.
Okay.
Right.
This wall next to the garage here, this would be a firewall separating the units. Yeah.
Separating them. Okay.
So
maybe could you talk in a little bit detail about what kind of expenses do you foresee on such properties? Because it seems to be different from the typical multifamily, right?
Yeah. So I think in the slide that I show you, in the spreadsheet that I show you, was over 9,000 a door, and a big chunk of that comes from tax and insurance, because the tax here, I believe, was really high. And this was our estimated value for the 54. So over 3,000 a unit just in taxes alone. That's property tax. And insurance I think we were looking at about 1,500 a unit because of the size of these units. And yeah, management fee as a percentage is high as well, because you're getting a lot of rent. So that number gets pumped up to a number that we don't normally see in the conventional properties. So that's why you end up with an expense per unit that's over 9,000 here.
Okay. But overall, it still seems like your expense ratio is pretty low. It's only 30%. So that's
low.
Impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. So you see that a lot of these luxury townhomes, the expense ratio gets low because you get very high rent, and you get very high rent, and the expenses are higher, but because the rent is so high that the ratio tends to get smaller.
Right. And also, I think it's a relatively new construction, right? Was it 2021? So you don't have a lot of repairs and maintenance as well.
Yeah, we still allow for 1,000 a door here, simply because I've noticed that with these bigger and nicer townhomes, they don't, especially when they're newer, they don't break. There's not a lot of things that will break, but anything happens, it costs a lot more to fix. You have more to paint, more flooring to replace. Yeah, and you just have to allow for that amount.
Questions one. I mean, since it is townhouse, right, and they share or they have a couple of amenities, so I don't see there is Sorry. That's my son. So I don't see. Do you have like HOA, right? Should be HOA since it is townhouse.
No HOA. Sorry, when I say townhomes, these are not conventional. These are not condos. These are just townhomes because of the style. Because they're separate, but they're not. There's no HOA. They're not on separate titles.
So like who then how the amenities is maintained? Like that you have mentioned that the couple of amenities you have on that.
Sorry, how's what maintained? Sorry.
And who pays for the amenities? Like cost of the managing amenities.
The landlord.
Landlord. Okay.
So the tenants will pay for their own utilities. I think there was in the rent roll that we had, some of the units were getting their utilities paid for by the landlord, but that was because of some concessions that they had when they signed the leases. But we were gonna just make sure that all the tenants paid their own utilities. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. So like garbage or like landscaping, everything is paid by the owner, like the water and sewer.
Yeah. In this case, we would pay the. So we had a similar property, not as nice as this, but it was a bunch of townhomes in Arkansas as well. And we pay for the guy to come out every 2 weeks. Right now it's every week now because the grass grows so fast. The guy to come out and mow the lawn and making sure the landscaping is always nice. Yeah, so we pay for all that, even though they're all separate kind of townhomes. Yeah.
In your spreadsheet that there is ground management or landscaping 5,000, and then utilities 5,100, something like that. So is that all expenses come from the owner, right?
Yeah. So this is the expense that the owner would have to pay. Yeah.
Hey, Hoon, I have a question on, you have utilities. So, is it possible to implement RUBs here or, or is everything already metered since it's a new construction?
From what I remember, this one was separately metered. The reason that we had this here was because we had an allowance for vacant units. And I found that sometimes when you have these vacant units, the utility expenses can add up to quite a bit, just from doing the turns and having vacancies. We had, when we looked at the rent roll that they provided, they were paying for utilities, some of the units, but like I said, it was only because there was a concession that they provided, and it wasn't a huge amount. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, like I said, this one is still out there. It's the last time we checked, they haven't sold it yet, so we're gonna keep checking in with them. We found out this seller was possibly under a lot of financial pressure, because we found out that the tower, that other property, that tower was on the special servicing list in CoStar, which meant that they were, having problems servicing the loan. But they sold that one.
Due? Sorry, when is the loan due for this?
This loan, I think it was another 2 or 3 years, I believe. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's really interesting as you follow it. And everyone know that they're a motivated seller. That's interesting.
Yeah, we found out that they were motivated was because we knew that the tower, they were having problems servicing the loan on the tower, because I think it was from CoStar. You could find out that information, and they were the same owner for this property as well.
Okay,
you can't imagine this property having too many issues though, just simply because you have good demand. And
so my question to you. What would you be doing different where you wouldn't have a problem servicing the loan? Right? I mean, if they had a problem servicing the loan, did you identify what that problem was? What was it? Were they not getting the rents they needed to get? Why did they have problems servicing the loan? Can you glean that from CoStar?
you can't really tell that from CoStar, but I think from what I remember, I think the loan on the tower was about 8 million, which would have been more than what we were willing to pay for the tower. 8 million was more than the $70,000 a door that we were willing to pay. I think it could be possible that there's some significant capex coming up and they just don't have the money for that. Like, if that, the boilers and the chillers and the cooling tower, those things need to be replaced. And we found out that it was going to be $1.4 million. Yeah. But it's really just a guess. Just don't really know.
Evan, I had a question on the similar context. So when you model for loan assumption and you said it's only 2 to 3 years left, so definitely you had to exit out, right? In 2 to 3 years, and the interest rate might be high at that time, right?
Yes.
Conservatively, it might be still, let's say, at 5.5 or 6%.
Yes.
How do you model it in here? Did you model it?
Yes.
Definitely, the best case is you will exit out, but in case you have to stay for longer, what's that stress test that you did?
Yes. So I think if I understand your question correctly, I think what we did here was we assumed the loan. We model a refinance in year 3 at 5.75 interest rate. So we're saying that this loan, the long term, we have 2 years left on the loan, and by year 3 we need to refinance and get out this one. And 5.75% interest rate with agency seems like a reasonable number. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. With the loan assumption, you just need to make sure that you need to make sure that obviously you model the correct outstanding principal. In this case, 4.5 million. Also model correctly the loan payment for each loan. And sometimes that means you have to manually change the amortization period as well.
So the equity on the property, that becomes the down payment, right? On time, kind of in this case, the 13%.
Correct. So in this case, we know that the loan amount is 4.5 million. So the down payment is 13%, and that is the difference between the 5.2 million purchase price and the $4.5 million loan amount here.
Yeah.
Over purchase price, so that's 13%. So that that's essentially 700,000 over 5.2 million here.
Yeah, if the down payment would have been higher, can you still finance the down payment? Can you have a supplemental also with loan assumption?
If the down payment was higher than the oh, you mean like if the down payment was higher, so say we wanted to pay 5.5 million,
or the purchase price is 5 million, but the loan amount is less, right? Let's say loan amount is 2 million or 3 million, because it was a 10-year Freddie Mac loan, and they're already 5 years into it. Something like that.
It depends. We looked into this on a different deal, and I think with Freddie Mac, you could potentially get a supplemental loan, but not Fannie Mae. Or was it the other way around? I think I'm pretty sure it was Freddie Mac that you could potentially get a supplemental loan, but not Fannie Mae. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We looked at a similar deal where there was a loan assumption component to it, and we found out from our mortgage broker that you can't always get a loan assumption with agency.
I have a separate question. That it's do you have a any sub 2 student here? Can this be a sub 2 deal? Like,
sorry, can you say that again?
Can this be a subject to deal where the seller keeps the mortgage completely, and then you just
oh, I haven't thought about that. Yeah,
because that's the buzzword everywhere. It's happening everywhere.
Right.
Subject to So I think I'm seeing a lot more subject to deals happening in multifamily too.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see if how would it look like if we had to model subject to for this particular deal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll have to look into that a bit more. I haven't really thought about that. Yeah.
Hey, one question. So I'm really wondering, I mean, is this one you are paying down only 13%? Probably I missed at the beginning. So is this still in the US? Which state? In the USA or it's abroad? The deal that you're talking, this 70 units.
Is it what? Sorry.
Is it in the United States, or it's in abroad? Because
it is in Arkansas. This is in North Little Rock, Arkansas.
So yeah, 13% down. I never heard of this. So I was like wondering. It's a great, like, I mean, in terms of down payment, it's a great.
This is just this is actually not a down payment. This term is kind of misleading in this scenario here, because you're not having a down payment. You're paying this amount. You assume the loan, which is 4.5 million.
Okay.
But because you're buying this, it's 5.2 million. You got to pay the seller 700,000. So you give the seller 700,000, and you assume their loan of 4.5 million. So effectively, this 700,000 that you're paying the seller, that is your down payment. Even though it's not really a down payment, it's just a way to model a loan assumption.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
It still affects your returns, though, right? So just like a down payment, or
absolutely.
I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So check this out. If we were to pay 5.5 million, what they're asking, what they wanted. Now this becomes 18%, because you're paying another $1 million on top of that, right? 4.5 million. If their loan was 4 million instead of 4.5 million, and you're paying 5.5 million, now your down payment, your effective down payment is 27%, and now nothing works here. These are terrible. These numbers are terrible. So I think we found out that the most that we could go is this number here.
Is there video training on synthesis that teaches you how to model loan assumption in the course?
I think the 2 videos that you can get from Shopline, the 2 videos that come with synthesis, I think I'm pretty sure they go through loan assumption and all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
But essentially, what you need to make sure you model right is the loan amount, so the outstanding principal. So if they have $4.2 million left on the loan, you got to make sure that you model that right, and also you model correctly the loan payment that they're making.
So one of the first things you do is ask for their loan information.
Correct. Yeah, you need to make sure.
For your underwriting.
Yes. So you need to know the outstanding principal. You need to know what the loan payment is, and you need to know when you're getting out of the loan, right? The loan term.
That's like doing that. That's actually like modeling a creative finance deal, right? Even if you're doing like a master lease option, you're asking for these same things.
Yeah.
How much time you have left on the loan? What's your loan payment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Typically, it's there in the OM because that's a selling point for them too, right? In the current market.
Yeah, correct. In the market right now, you see loan assumption would be a plus. Whereas 18 months ago, it would have been an issue. Loan assumption, nobody wanted to assume.
Loan assumption at the right price.
Correct. Yeah. But this one, it wasn't an option, or wasn't actually in the OM. But we wanted to see whether this was an option or not before we post that question to them. We wanted to see whether it would make a difference in terms of being able to pay the price that they wanted. But clearly not. So so that's what we found out.
Hey, while we're waiting, who's going to come to Jacksonville next week? Lauren. All right. Rashad. All right. I just actually purchased my portion today. I was in the process of moving from Oregon, and I thought I'd be in Oregon next week, but I got everything done ahead of time. So now I'm able to go. I didn't think I'd be able to go. And it's 10 minutes from my house.
So you have no commute. You really don't have an excuse if you're in.
I don't.
Cool. I guess if we don't have any other questions, we can call it a session. Summer, I know you had some questions about some deal that you were working on. I know we have like 10-15 minutes. Maybe you want to go over it if you had anything.
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask something first before we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Juan, so you're going to follow this. You guys really want to purchase this, right? You guys want to at the right price. So you'll follow it. Yes. You'll follow interest rates. You'll follow the whole deal. I mean, okay. I mean, what if it becomes a seller's market again, right?
Yeah, exactly. We just don't know. I mean,
we just don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Okay, yeah. This would be interesting to come back to.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, you know, these interest rates, nobody knew we would be at this level 2 years ago. So we don't really know what's going to happen in 2 years, you know.
Okay, all right. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, that's good.
Hey, Summer, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, let me share my screen. And my son is right behind me, in front of me. So he's making a lot of noise. So just bear with that. Let me see.
While you're looking for that, I'm heading to the airport in an hour. I've been living apart from my family for over 2 months.
Whoa.
So my wife said I've been living a bachelor lifestyle here. Yeah. Like, yeah, right. I've just been getting more stuff done is what it is. So they're flying into Jacksonville in another hour from Oregon. So
nice.
Yeah.
So just give me a second, please.
The kids back there.
Do you guys see the screen?
Yeah, we see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this is like we have been working this deal for quite a while, and then we are done back and forth, but it's not settled yet. So it is basically like in our backyard. This is how the building looked like in OM, right? This is 32 unit right in the West Columbia, just like 7 minutes to the downtown. These are the pictures. This is in between the apartment. The apartment's pretty much maintained really well. It's the backside of the apartment. So basically, this is how this is. They have provided us. Basically, it's 32 units, and then it has an average rent of like $816, right? So that pretty much gives the gross rent income around $313,000. So with the other expenses and everything, there's not much. There's NOI is 123. So there are different expenses they have provided here, like real estate taxes, insurance, and other like HOA fees, which is like almost 60,000. This is the big chunk of the percentage that basically take away from the total gross income. So we just wanted to like try to talk to the seller and then get the come to the like, mutual, sale price where, both parties win-win. So basically, I will show you the synthesis that I have just plugged in, couple of, plugged in, but it might not be, perfect. So I just wanted to share with you guys and then see, what is your recommendations or like suggestions, any critiques, and as well as opinion. So okay, so why this is not the one? Let me check. Okay. Let me just see if this is the one. Okay. So this is the, basically the seller was asking 2.5 for 32 units. And then we, after doing, a little bit of analysis here, we, offered them like 2.2. But again, seller, counter offer like 2.4. So we, but in 2.4, it seems like it's, it basically number kind of doesn't give that good, outcome. So in the basis of like 32 unit 2.2, it's 68,750 per units. And then, there's you can see here the payment and the down payment is 40% because the bank that we're talking to right now, lender, they are really asking really high and down payment, which is huge. But still we're trying to work on that. So in this case, we basically like, the total, at the average or total, the, cash flow. I don't know why it is. Okay, so there's something's not wrong here. Sorry about that. I don't know. Let me check. Go back again. What's going on here? Technical difficulties. I don't know. I mean, that's what I don't know why when I look at in this, why it's showing different here.
Samar, if you're opening directly in Google Drive, you might mess up things. So
I'm just basically opening from the my like file. So, but like in this case, what I'm trying to see here is that you can see here like the average cash flow for members, right? Return is 6.43. And then equity multiplied is 2.6. I don't know, somehow this, and then, projected return is like 7.43. So, but if I go to the, these are basically the actual numbers that I have been plugged in here. Based upon the that OEM provided everything, the expenses, the insurance, real estate taxes, other expenses like because that HOA fee, which is like 60,000, basically covers the trash removal, water and sewer, and then like a lawn care, right? And the property manager basically get the 16,000. 1,600 per month. So and then the apartment is pretty good. We
some more quick question. So
yeah.
you have the management fee at 6.6%. This is 32 units, right? Is that like, did you get some kind of quote, or it's an existing property management company?
Yeah,
typically it will be 8 to 10%, right?
Yeah, yeah. We talked to that lady who has been managing this property for a long time, and the owner is the doctor, and he's debt free. So she's pretty much like managing on that price 6.6 percentage, which is like pretty low regarding the other property management tax. So this is like 2 bed and 2.5 5 bathroom, which is like private bathroom attached, and then 1,050 square footage. So that is basically gives 33 600 square footage, and then the total amount per month is 26,112, right? So I'm kind of like target. What we're thinking is that we can at least go to 950 because surrounding areas comes, and then the similar kind of property we have that also goes like it's more than that. So there is possibility of increased rent with a little bit of like a soft repair or soft repair maintenance. So that's what we're looking. But looking into the this property, the rents are basically under rented based upon the the market. So and then other things here, just wanted to show you here is like so. But when I see this plug-in numbers, the return is, you can see by here, I'll show you return is first is pretty dismal. You know what I'm saying? So you guys can see here like 1.1 percentage of total cash and cash return, and then after that you can see incremental increase as the rent increases. So at the 8 years, that's where the exit plan is. You can see up to like 8% cash and cash return, right? And then if we see into the investor sample return, again it's the same thing. So the cap rate is like sorry, the cash and cash is total. I think I don't hear like 10 point, that is average out. So I mean we are struggling here because even though the property is like per unit is not that bad, the thing that we see here is the chunk of the like earnings is taken up by the HOA fee, right? So for example, if the rent is like 816 and then HOA fee owner's pay is 155, so it basically slash your $155, was brought you to a monthly rent of like 600 plus, right? So now, so we when we see this numbers here, even though the sellers in the counter was 2.4, we still counter back to recounter back to 2.2. So it still is, it is on the process. But as we know that market is, the properties in our backyard, we know that we can increase the rent, and we are also thinking of like maybe we can like flat rate charge to the new tenant, by $50 for the water and sewer, so that will reduce your 155 to 105. And since it is like 42 units, and the seller who is selling has the majority 32 units, so probably we'll be able to like and the person who bought this property has a majority in the say, so maybe able to change some HOA rules and like flat a water bill $50 per
Summer,
each.
I have a question.
Yes.
So why have you found out why the rents are under market? There's got to be a reason. Is this a mom and pop owner?
No,
it's mom and pop owner.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's a doc. I said it before, like it's like, you know, physicians who is debt free, and he doesn't want, he's about to retire, and then his, you know, children doesn't want to carry on.
And he's out of state, you know. The lady who is the HOA and / property manager, she kind of like managing on her own. She's a one-person show, right? So even we have the exact same property, like in a little bit on a different location. So we are renting each unit at $1,100. So we, and then the properties are 1985 and very well kept.
That's good.
And it's 1,000 square foot, and you know, 1,050. And you know that when you go upstairs and each bedroom has their own bathroom, that is always a plus, you know. So we really like the property, but you know, as per the lenders, they only look at what's the current situation, right? They do not look into the future potential when they're trying to do that.
And the good thing about is that like this property is 100% rented right now. When we worked, rented. You know, there was one you know property, one in the unit is vacant, but it was totally renovated, and they are about to move in like in a new tenant in 2 days.
Yeah. I have a question. You mentioned the lender. So they won't lend on it, or you have to put more equity down?
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. 40% day one.
So here is the thing. You know,
got it. Okay.
With the NOI right now, so just to align the DSCR to 1.2, they are asking us to put 40%. But he also give us an option of bridge loan. So that's what I wanted to ask Juan and the ones we have done before. And the bridge loan was, but then there are two options right now on the table. Is 40% with the interest only. He said like we can go up to 10 years interest only. You know, there is a pre-penalty before 5 years, but we can choose whichever, how many years we want to be interest only, just to stabilize the property. But then the second option was the bridge loan, which was only for 1 year. So you can stabilize and only 30% down on that one, but the interest is about 10% on bridge, right?
Yeah, 10.75, I believe the interest for the bridge.
Yeah, so that's...
No, Sama, so do you have a capex on this property? But because you said it's well kept, do you really need a bridge loan?
I mean, based upon like this analysis, you can see here in the project in the capex in actual capex is 5.6. So we are trying to bring up to the 6.
No, that's a cap rate.
Oh, okay.
Capex, the capex budget.
Capex is like I would say like, you know, there are some you know like units which need a little bit of like the very soft you know like repair or like painting or some carpeting. If those you know.
So I think Summer kept 32,000, so 1,000 a piece. But I think
you can see
half of the units are totally renovated, so we don't need to do anything on that. So we put 32,000 for our capex, just to you know average it out. So that's why there were two school of thought on this one. Was the HOA fee being high, but you know somebody has to pay the water and the garbage, right? So then
Summer Anita, so the HOA fee is high is because typically the HOA is, if you have multiple owners, then you come up with that what would be your expense, right? But in this case, if it is just one owner and what is that HOA fee is it if the the trash removal, landscape and other things, if we can have a good contracting service
exactly.
Is that because typically the HOA fee is when you have townhome or single family home with multiple owners and then you have an HOA because the homeowners come. If this is in this case with the HOA is that those additional contracting service fees. And if there is a way you can reduce it, right?
That's the goal. That's the plan, and then out of 46, 32 is this, and the remaining there are actually 3 people on the HOA, and one is a homeowner, right? So that's one unit is his home. So actually there's only 4 people on the HOA, right? So so it's not we are looking into it like it's a HOA, but I think maybe we have a say on it. So maybe we can do in a more efficient way. So that's one. And then one of the unit was sold for 100,000. So we thought like 68,000 per unit is a pretty good deal. And then all these units are individually parceled. So
that's the problem then. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why you have an HOA, because
it is individually parceled, but then you have a choice if you want to sell those individual, if you want to, that's a good aspect of it. But I think the HOA is something that takes the expenses out of the income.
Okay, so I think we are over time. One last question. Since it's individually parceled, so the tax rate is also calculated individually in the property?
They do have an individual tax ID, but then when the lender is dealing with it, it lumps sum into one.
That's but from the lender, but actually the tax assessment happened separately, right, for each?
That we don't know.
Because you need to make sure that even if lender is doing it for underwriting, if your actual tax bill will increase because it's individually priced, right, or parceled and based on the sale comp or anything, I think make sure that we.
So what do you guys think about this, deal?
Yeah, I think somewhere you probably want to look into where you can take the HOA to, potentially how much you can reduce the expenses, because that's what's kind of killing the deal, right? So I think that's what it's basically going to come down to. And otherwise your loan terms are not bad, considering that you have such a high down payment, but that you're already safe, relatively speaking.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
If it is 100% occupied, can you get the agency debt?
What was that?
Can you get the agency debt on this one?
Assumption?
Because it's fully stabilized, not the agency, like the Freddie Mac loan on this one, rather than the local lender.
We have been talking to the local lender and the other lenders, but we have not talked to the Freddie Mae or Freddie Mac.
Carlos has a contact. So yeah, sorry? I think that would be a good option, at least just to have additional, because it's 100% occupied, right? And if you have somehow make the DSCR to 1.25.
No, DSCR based upon this calculation, you can see it's 1.35 right here. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think so that means if we make it 1.25 with a higher price, and you still get a better rate like 5.5 or 5.75 with Freddie Mac. Right, with a small business loan, I think this might work out.
Yeah, because the interest rate that that the lender we are talking giving saying that it's around 6.9, around 7 point. So which is if we can bring down to at least
that's
1.
a lot, I think, in the current, because current one is 6.25, I believe, the regular one, right, and the Freddie Mac is 5.5 to 5.75.
Yeah, it's a lot lower right now. But it's paperwork hell.
That's right. Okay, right? But actually, we should have that option open, right? So I think so. Samar, if you are really interested on this deal, maybe we can give you that
Freddie Mac.
Yeah, Freddie Mac one, right? So I think, or you can post it in the Facebook chat, right? If somebody has a
guys,
Freddie
I have
Mac
to go to the
agency.
Airport. I have to head out in just a few minutes.
No problem. Enjoy your family reunion.
Yeah, family reunion, basically.
Don't cry, Carlos.
Don't cry. Oh, you know me too well. I can't wait to see you guys next week.
Sure. Oh yeah, next week. Yeah,
we'll see you in a week.
I'll join virtually. So send me some video clips.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I will. It's gonna be good.
Sata, you can just messenger me your contact for Freddie and Freddie Mac, and probably we'll just reach out to them and ask what are the paperwork like. Carlos, a lot of paperwork. So let's see how.
It's lots of paperwork.
Yeah. It's you go to a small like Juan will tell you. You go to a local bank. It's like, there's no paperwork.
No, I mean,
there's hardly any.
Yeah, I understand, get it, but you know, like we have been working with one lender locally. He was very great. You know, we have been all the doing, you know, all kind of commercial loan with him. You know, and then suddenly the bank is like, no, we're not doing because you know, but it's so volatile, and then multi-units, yeah, we are not offering. So you know, we have to look to the other person. You know, and then he referred, so he was able to provide us, but still like not good enough. So everybody's like, I mean, all the people are like, we talk so far, like, I don't know, multiple of them, local, they're asking 50% down. I mean, you know, I mean, that was some money. Like, why would you like down that much of money?
DSCR,
you know,
DCSR has to be 1 point. So the different banking, they were talking about the DSCR point, right? So a lot of them had their own set of rules. So one of the lenders said they had to be 1.35 and higher. So this lender, the last one that we talked to, his company was okay with 1.2, but then to get to 1.2 was the 40% down payment. But the other thing, that's what he was suggesting, was the bridge loan for a year with 30% down payment. So 1 year will be enough for you to stabilize the property, meaning bring up the rent to at least 900, which is basically all. 3 of the units are already 900 there, right? So we are the same property. So that's why he was suggesting maybe we can do that and then go into a long term. But the 1.2, they are amortizing over 30 years, right? Versus 20 years or 25 with most of the other ones. Yeah.
Summer, when I was looking at your OM that you were presenting, I think the rents, the pro forma rents there were different from what you entered on synthesis.
Really? No,
or maybe I missed something.
No, it's the same rent I entered.
It's the same. Okay.
Yeah. So
one thing with the DSCR, I just thought about this is they when you go to agency, when they look at the DSCR, they actually look at not your year one DSCR, but the historical, like based on historical income in the last 3 months. So it's slightly different than how the local banks, the community banks look at the DSCR as well. So because when you're in your synthesis in the dashboard, I think you were looking at the year one DSCR. If that's based on the pro forma income, then it could potentially be higher than the what the agency would look at as well.
Yeah. The lenders are looking at the current one.
But I think you know, whatever I have plugged in there is the like a real rent roll.
The current
one. So I haven't put it you know, like as a pro forma one, which like, you know, could be, you know, this and this higher whatever. So I just put the actuals, and that's what it is there. Just to make sure that, you know, it is authentic.
So one thing which I didn't understand on this and the others, right? So one metrics to look at these deals is also the cost per door, right? Cost per door also gives you a little insight on whether the deal is a good deal or not. So a lot of places, like most, you know, whenever like 12 unit, $1 million or 1.2, you know, so it's most likely most of the cost per doors are coming around like 100,000, right? So this is coming around 68,000, which I thought was a great deal. But I know there is a HOA. There is a HOA. So if the HOA can be, controlled or decreased, wouldn't this automatically should have make it a great deal or a good deal? You know, that was my dilemma on the beginning, was why the property is such a nice property with per door is 68, and still we are struggling with the the cash flow. Is it just because of the HOA? That was my.
It could be. I mean, if your intuition is telling you that it's worth more than that amount, then it could potentially mean that the area has a lot more income increase potential. Like the rent increase could be higher than your assumption, or you could exit at a lower cap rate.
Yeah.
Than what you assume. Yeah.
So I think in that aspect, knowing the area, and also like at least $1 per square foot, 1,000 square foot should at least rent $1,000, right? So that automatically brings up the pro forma much higher. So I can look at it as if like 2 to 3 years, our rent should be where it should be, all the 32 units. So should make a good exit, that's what I'm leaning towards, depending on how the market would be at that time. But 3 years of hold 3 years of hold will make up the market rent to where it should be, and should have a, good meat on the bone when we exit the deal.
Yeah, Nita, I think that's what I was talking about earlier. I think it showed on the OM, the pro forma rent was like something like 1176, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
What did you enter on synthesis? Wasn't it around like 900? I think you
850.
In synthesis, I entered like the average is like 816. Yeah,
816. So they're 32.
Yeah, but what about pro forma? What did you enter for pro forma? Because you could go. I think you could have gone higher.
Oh,
but based on pro forma.
Based on the pro forma, it is at least 1100.
Yeah,
but
and I think for
the synthesis. Yeah, synthesis summer only entered the 815, the actual one.
Yeah, but there is on the right side, there is a column for pro forma on synthesis as well, which I think you entered only something like 970, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, we can look at it.
You mean in the like actuals or?
Yeah, if you go to actuals and unit mix. Yeah, see on your target rent, you entered only 950, but I think you can put 1176 there, right?
950. Yeah, this is I mean, this is very conservative. I was just looking into like maybe like next 2 years. We can like rent that to. I mean that it's I was talking about average. In next 2 years, because the one we have already 3 of them is already rented to 900. The lowest is 750 above, and majorities are 800 above. So that 950 was, I just put it in because just make average, meaning that it could be like some of them maybe 1,000, some of them maybe like 900, because all the rents are not at the same range. It's like in a different range based on what tenants live. Yeah. So
that is affecting your numbers though, right? Because if you actually put it to the correct target rents that you can achieve, your numbers will go higher, right? So okay, go to the next tab, P&L.
P&L, okay.
Yeah. So at the top, we need to look at so you put 6% rent growth, but your actual rent growth is closer to like, so if I just do 1,000 divided by 850, that's almost a 17% rent growth. So if you change that number from 6% to 17%, you'll see your numbers will go up significantly.
No, but Harshad, that one is not year one, right? So if you make 17% year one, then you have to make a loss to lease, right? Because you are not achieving that 950 or 1,000.
No, but even 1,000, so this is 17% is just taking the rents to 1,000, but the actual target is 1176. So I'm not even getting there in year one.
But year one, are you still get it? Can you still get 1,000 if your leases are not up and all those things, right?
I think the answer would be for Summer to give, right? Because it needs to be more realistic, because I think 6% is not putting in the correct rent growth estimates.
Yeah, so Summer, I feel so. Talk to the property management, right? Like not the current one, the one that they're very aggressive in that area, and see what they say, right? Then it's a 32 units. You still need to keep some I think lower rent for your exit criteria, right? For when you sell, you still have some meat on the bone, right? For the next seller. So you may not get, let's say, maybe 80% below market rent or 70% below market rent, you bring it to 1,000, but you still keep 30% as is, or a little bit, right? So that's how you calculate the average.
Okay.
And so I think talk to the property management company, and if they feel like, okay, year one, 60 to 70% of the unit can be reached $100,000, maybe model it accordingly.
Okay. I mean, if we, I definitely, if we do that, I mean, I guess like, it's gonna be, I mean, not only good deal, I think a great deal, the reason I did not did that is because, just like, trying to see and a lot of people used to say that, when you do this kind of like an underwriting, get the actuals, because if you take the like, targeted or pro forma, deals, then, bank will like, probably not give you the loan. You know what I'm saying? So, but because
so the actual, I think you already, so actual you cannot change, right? Because it already happened. And if that's really poor, you cannot do much, right? But again, if it is still whatever you for the banks, but you still need to work towards your exit, right? And your investor return and everything, right? So I think that's the next level, right? But if your actual itself is bad, then anyway, you cannot proceed, but it all depends.
Right. So
so I think I like the way one's created, right? You really need to have couple of models, right? So loan assumption is one model, regular Freddie Mac is another model, whatever it is, right? Rent, the unit mix could be 70% renovated, but or the below market rent versus 100%. Maybe we keep 3 or 4 spreadsheets and find out the one is very conservative and one is very aggressive. Then you will have in the middle. Then I think we'll find a sweet spot and take that synthesis, then maybe present it, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you can also play around with the numbers, right? Consider what happens if you get agency debt and then you're able to bring your HOA down, then what could the deal potentially look like? Because at the end of the day, that's why you will be investing, right? Or that's going to be the make or break decision for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have played a couple of scenarios. So if we increase the, definitely the rent, it will, pretty much gives a good, cash and cash return from the beginning of the year, first year. So I would put that on the options, and then play around with a couple of numbers. So but seeing this one, I mean, you only get like a 1%, cash and cash return on the first year, which is like,
I think maybe Juan can comment on that. I think it's still fine, right? Right, one like year one.
What do you say?
It will be lower. It will be lower than the rest of the years.
Yeah, you're talking about the rent increase?
No,
the cash and cash return.
Cash return in year one is based on this model. It's 1.1% in the first year, 4% in the second, and 5% in third, like that. It's an incremental increase. So what do you say about this?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common to have low cash on cash return in the initial years, especially when you're looking at increasing the loan, increasing the rent and adding value that way. Sometimes what people do is they raise that money up front and distribute it back to the investors to smooth out the cash on cash returns. And what that does effectively, it increases your average cash on cash return, but it reduces your IRR. So that's kind of a technique that sometimes you see people do. Yeah,
that's interesting one. And also, if you can get a really appetizing interest only period, right? So in this case, if it looks pretty much stabilized. If you're not looking to give returns back with a refi, I mean, are you looking at taking this to and not refinancing? Because
no, we are planning on to keep at least like 5 to 8 years. So and then exit out.
Oh, then maybe agency debt, right, Juan? Maybe agency debt is something to look at with a you can get 3 years interest only is what they were quoting us for a property in Kansas City. We switched to a different loan because we had so much rent upside. So we said, you know what, we switched to a local bank for the flexibility. But in your case, I don't know, it sounded like agency debt, if you can get 3 years interest only to help with that cash flow problem at first.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Juan's the expert, not me.
No, we have an option to we can do as I mentioned, the lender is saying that we can do up to 10 years interest only payment, but that's you cannot, that's will principle will never go down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Up to 3 years, 5 years is still like long, but also we have option like in 1 year bridge loan, you get like hell of interest pay, but once you stabilize, then you go and refi and like that. So I don't know, like is the interest only payment is a good option for like a couple of years, like up to 2-3 years? One,
I think so. I mean, if you could get it, definitely always try to get that, even with community banks or agencies, obviously. But you can get interest only for the first few years. That'll help out with the cash flow a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Samar, I don't think bridge loan would be a good option here because it's saying it's already stabilized, right? Very less capex. So you really have to use that money, right, in year one. If you don't have any capex budget, why to take that?
Yeah, we 10%. Didn't put much capex budget. We I think that I just put it in 1,000 per unit. So I put it 32,000 because most of the in units are pretty good. And they are tenant is still staying. So so whenever like tenant if tenant moved out, then that's where plan to do some carpeting, painting, so just kind of really soft, soft kind of maintenance repair.
And then I think then the bridge debt doesn't make much sense, right? Because you're not doing any heavy lift in the year one, and you have to use up that money. Okay, so I think this was definitely a good one. Maybe Samar, you can follow up on this, right? So I think agency debt would be a good option to look for. See if that makes sense.
And then you have to pick your partners accordingly, probably with agency debt. Maybe you want particular JV partners that can.
So, agency debt meaning that share the
Freddie Mac.
Freddie Mac, okay.
Yeah. They would need somebody who has the Freddie Mac experience, kind of become a KP.
Oh, okay, KPs, yeah.
Yeah, so you're probably going to be asking the MIH group for help.
Yeah, first make sure that makes sense. Numbers make sense.
Yeah, I mean, numbers kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I think it looks a good deal. If you like the area, you understand the area, and you do see the rent potential in that area, so I think it could be a good deal.
Yeah, I mean that's for sure. Because as Nita mentioned, we have a similar kind of property, but the smaller the scale, it's like a duplex or fourplex, right? And then we are renting 1,150, 1,100, but it's a little bit different, more towards the downtown area, but it's still there's 800 to 1,100. It's there's 300 difference, $350 difference. So we know that we can easily get up to the 950 or 1,000. That's even conservatively market rent, which is pro forma shows that 1,100 plus. So 1,000 is doable, I believe, within 2 years. All right.
All right.
It's great. Thank you so much, guys. I mean, I will always welcome if there is any feedback from you guys. But I mean, I don't. Let's see what happens. We just tried. We give the counter offer same offer that we have given them before. So let's see how it goes.
Samar, try different scenarios like Juan did, right? He did different scenarios, different debt strategies. Layer different debt strategies on top of that deal, and one of them might make it a good deal.
No, what we did, because this is the guy is an owner, is a doctor, and then he's about to retire and he's debt free. So we even offer him is there any seller finance he's thinking, and then broker told us that his CPA told him not to do seller finance. That's gone. Other option was we said that okay, let's work how we can say make a deal. So we told the broker that what do he want, right? Is he okay to get a 10 or 15% down payment, and then remaining like, seller carry, like, he also don't want to do that, because we thought that if it is like, if you get bulk of money, that's a lot of capital gain, right? He's going to pay a lot of, like in tax. That didn't work either. So is there any new strategy? I don't know. I mean, yeah, we did everything, and we even write the letter because we are doctors, he's doctor. So that's why I don't know. I'm just guessing. There are multiple offers, but he gave us an counter because we even wrote a letter. Hey, this is who we are. We are this is our backyard. We will keep your property like you did. It's like our home. Blah blah blah. Big letters to him. So probably that kind of influence him, and then maybe get back to us like counter offer with the 2.4 of our 2.2. So yeah. I cannot think of any other strategy, beside that, unless like, I have a cash, a lot of cash sitting, cash sitting on a cash. So
yeah, Samar, let's explore that Freddie Mac option.
Okay. Yeah. Right? So can you, can you like send me the numbers? So
yeah,
I'll try to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So this was a good discussion.
Good.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for allowing me to like share this, and appreciate your all expertise.
Yep. Thank you, Hoon, again.
Yeah, Hoon.
Thanks, Hoon.
Yeah, Hoon. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good.
Pleasure.
Good stuff. Jacksonville, guys. Jacksonville.
We'll see you in a week.
Jacksonville.
Yeah. See you next week.
Your bathing suit.